The kingdom of Elviria, once a realm of flourishing power, now lay under the shadows of a deep curse that none could escape. The sun barely managed to pierce through the thick clouds, and the people moved about their daily lives with heavy hearts, knowing their fate was already sealed. But in the grand halls of the royal court, the vampire king, Malor, stood silent, his cold gaze set on the horizon, knowing the time was drawing near. Among the grandeur of the royal family, one woman stood apart from the crowds, unnoticed by all but a select few. Ilyana, the aunt of the young heir, lived in the forgotten corners of the kingdom. She was the quiet guardian, the one who had raised her niece after her sister's untimely death. Though she was kin to the royal bloodline, Ilyana had always remained in the shadows, her presence overlooked in favor of the more radiant and charismatic figures who ruled the eyes of the court. Her niece, Alira, was a beauty, one destined for greatness. She was poised to inherit the throne, a jewel in the kingdom's crown with a heart full of ambition and a will to match. But Ilyana, with her muted colors and gentle ways, was the kind of woman who was easy to forget. The royal court had no place for her, at least that's what she believed. Yet hidden deep within her veins flowed an ancient power, a power she barely understood herself. Ilyana never sought the throne or recognition. She lived in quiet isolation, content to care for her niece and keep her distance from the politics that twisted around her. But fate has a way of knocking at the door when it is least expected. One evening, as the moon cast a pale glow over the royal city, a messenger arrived with a summons, an invitation to the royal court. Ilyana was taken aback. She had never been invited before. Confused yet compelled, she dressed in her simplest attire, a gown of deep violet that shimmered like twilight, and made her way to the palace. Upon her arrival, she was led through the long corridors, her heart racing with unease. The walls, adorned with ancient tapestries and golden chandeliers, seemed to whisper in her ears, reminding her that she did not belong here. The air was thick with the weight of history, a history she had never truly understood. When she finally entered the throne room, the grandeur of the space took her breath away. The throne, made of black marble and encrusted with gemstones, loomed in the center of the room, its cold, unyielding presence casting a shadow over everything. King Malor, seated upon it, turned his piercing gaze toward her, and for a moment, Ilyana felt as if the room had closed in around her. The king was a figure of legend, his face as chiseled and timeless as the stone upon which he sat. His deep red eyes gleamed with a cold fire, and his long dark hair fell like a cloak of night around his shoulders. Despite the beauty of his features, there was an undeniable darkness to him, a mystery that seemed to stretch far beyond the mortal realm. "Lady Ilyana," Malor's voice rang out, smooth and commanding. "You have been summoned here not by accident. You are not who you think you are." Ilyana's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling despite her efforts to keep it steady. "You are more than just an aunt to the heir of Elviria," the king continued, his gaze never wavering from hers. "You are of royal blood, a descendant of the ancient line of vampire kings, one whose power has been hidden for centuries." Ilyana blinked, stunned. "That cannot be my sister. Your sister was not the only one with this blood," Malor interrupted gently, his voice carrying a note of finality. "And it is no accident that you are here now, standing before me. The time has come for you to fulfill your destiny." Ilyana could hardly comprehend the words. She had spent her life in silence in the shadows, caring for her niece and watching from afar. To hear such things now from the vampire king himself was enough to unravel the fabric of her reality. "Why now? Why me?" Ilyana whispered, struggling to keep her composure. "You have been chosen," Malor answered, rising from his throne. "The prophecy speaks of a queen, one who will hold the power to break the curse that has bound our kingdom for so long. The throne has been vacant for centuries, and the curse can only be lifted by one who carries the true bloodline. You are the one foretold to claim it." Ilyana took a step back, overwhelmed. I don't understand. I am no queen. I am just an aunt. I have no place here." "You are mistaken," the king interjected firmly, his voice darkening. "The kingdom's fate rests in your hands, and it is not a choice. You will either accept your birthright, or let the curse continue to consume everything. Your niece's life is not the only one at stake." A chill ran through Ilyana's spine. The words were heavy, each one a weight she wasn't sure she could bear. I never asked for this, she whispered, her voice breaking. I never wanted to be queen. Neither did I, Malor replied, his voice softening for the first time. But sometimes fate does not care for our desires. His words hung in the air, thick with unspoken meaning. Despite her fear, something inside Ilyana stirred, a mix of dread and an undeniable pull toward the king. She did not know him, but she felt the gravity of his presence in every fiber of her being. As the conversation shifted, the tension between them grew, an undercurrent of something deeper that neither of them dared to acknowledge. Ilyana was torn, caught between the life she had known and the frightening promise of a future she never wanted. The king, sensing her uncertainty, stood. You are my destined queen, but whether or not you will accept that destiny is a choice only you can make. With that, Ilyana was left standing alone in the cold throne room, her mind swirling with confusion and fear, the weight of her bloodline pressed on her chest like a stone. The king's words echoed in her mind, each one louder than the last. You are the one, but how could she be? She was just Ilyana, the forgotten aunt. She wasn't ready for this. She wasn't ready for any of it. As she left the palace, her heart heavy with the impossible decision she now faced, she could feel the eyes of the kingdom upon her. The prophecy had been set into motion, but as the moonlight bathed the city in its cold glow, Ilyana knew that no matter what choice she made, there would be no going back. Part 2. The Queen Unveiled. The days following the king's revelation were filled with silence, long, heavy hours where Ilyana's thoughts swirled like dark clouds, blocking the sunlight of reason. She couldn't escape the pull of Malor's words, nor the weight of the decision she had to make. The Vampire King's declaration had changed everything, and yet she found herself wondering, could it really be true? Was she really the one destined to break the curse that haunted the kingdom? The people of Elviria had lived for centuries under a dark curse, one that kept their kind alive but never free. The curse had bound them in an eternal cycle of power struggles, bloodshed, and endless longing. Malor, the Vampire King, was both its victim and its keeper. But what if, just what if, Ilyana was the key to ending it all? The thought haunted her, waking her in the dead of night. For days, Ilyana avoided the royal court, staying within the walls of her small, humble quarters in the palace. She couldn't face the world of politics and power games. She was no queen, no ruler. She was just a woman, struggling with the weight of a destiny she hadn't asked for, but Malor was not a man to be easily ignored. One evening, just as the last rays of the sun dipped beneath the horizon, Ilyana was once again summoned to the throne room. This time her heart beat faster, a flutter of unease running through her. She knew what awaited her. The decision was no longer hers to delay. As she entered the grand chamber, the king stood by the window, staring out into the vast darkness of the night. The room, as always, was bathed in a haunting glow, the flickering candles casting long shadows across the stone walls. Malor turned as Ilyana stepped inside, his red eyes meeting hers with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. Ilyana, he said, his voice low and deliberate. It's time, she swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet his gaze. Time for what? To accept your destiny, Malor answered, his tone unyielding. The curse can no longer be ignored. You are the one who must break it, and I will stand by you, but only if you accept what is rightfully yours. His words struck her like a thunderclap. The gravity of it all weighed on her chest, but she couldn't deny the truth in his voice. Something in her, a deep, hidden part, was stirring. The blood of the ancient kings ran in her veins, and perhaps it was time for her to face that truth. I can't, she whispered, her voice cracking. I am no queen. I have no place in this world of power and politics. I've spent my life caring for my niece, watching from the shadows. I'm not prepared for this. Malor's gaze softened, though there was an edge of steel behind it. None of us are prepared for the roles fate hands us. But we must embrace them, or we risk losing everything. The curse is growing stronger, and your niece, Alira, she is in danger. If you don't take the throne, the darkness will consume her. Ilyana's heart skipped a beat. The thought of losing her niece, the one person she had loved and cared for in this cruel world, was unbearable. But the price of breaking the curse, of taking the throne, was too high. She wasn't ready to claim such power, to be thrust into the center of a kingdom's fate. It was too much. I can't let that happen to Alira, Ilyana said, her voice filled with a quiet desperation. But I don't know if I can be the one to save her. You are not alone, Malor replied, his voice gentle now, though it still carried the weight of authority. You will never be alone in this. I will help you. Together, we can end the curse and save your niece, but you must accept who you truly are. Ileana stood frozen for a moment, her mind battling with her heart. She was terrified, unsure of what her decision would mean. She had spent so many years watching the world from the shadows, never daring to dream of something greater, and now, the world was asking her to step into the light to become something she had never wanted. But when she looked into Malor's eyes, something inside her shifted. There was no denying the connection between them. It wasn't just the prophecy or the curse. There was something deeper, a bond forged in the very blood that ran through her veins. Malor was offering her a chance at redemption, not just for the kingdom, but for herself. And though she still had doubts, she knew one thing. She could not stand by and watch her niece suffer. The kingdom had suffered for too long. Perhaps it was time for her to accept the role she had been given, even if she didn't understand all that it entailed. I will do it, she said, her voice steady, despite the fear that gripped her heart.
I will take the throne.
I will break the curse. Malor's expression softened, and for the first time since their meeting, there was a glimmer of warmth in his gaze. You are stronger than you know. The bloodline runs through you, Ileana. It always has. As the words left his lips, Ileana felt a surge of power course through her. It was subtle at first, like a whisper in the back of her mind. But the more she focused on it, the stronger it became, until it pulsed through her veins, filling her with a strange new energy. The power of the vampire kings of her ancestors was awakening inside her. But the king's words also carried a warning. There will be those who will oppose you, he continued, his voice growing more serious. There are factions within the court who seek to keep the curse intact. They will stop at nothing to see you fail. Be ready. Ileana nodded, her resolve hardening. I'm ready. With that, the finality of her decision settled over her. She was no longer just the quiet aunt, the forgotten shadow in the royal court. She was the queen who would rise from the ashes, the one who would end the curse and reclaim the throne. But as she stepped forward, following Malor through the grand halls toward her destiny, she knew that the road ahead would be treacherous. As they passed through the corridors, Ileana could feel the weight of the kingdom's gaze upon her. The whispers of the courtiers, the eyes of the servants all turned toward her as if they knew something had shifted. Something monumental was about to happen. And yet, even as the king guided her toward the throne room, the air was thick with uncertainty. Ileana knew that her journey was only just beginning. She had taken the first step toward breaking the curse, but there was much more to come. And the greatest challenge was yet to be faced. As they entered the throne room, the grand hall fell silent. Malor stepped aside, his eyes never leaving Ileana's as she approached the throne. For a moment she hesitated, feeling the weight of the ancient seat beneath her. This was it. This was where her destiny would unfold. But just as Ileana reached out to sit, a sudden voice rang out, sharp and commanding. You think you can simply walk into this throne and claim it as your own? Ileana turned, her heart pounding. Standing in the doorway was a figure she had not expected to see. Alira, her niece, her heart filled with a mixture of fear and defiance. The tension in the room thickened and Ileana's breath caught in her throat. Her niece was here, and it seemed the battle for the throne was far from over. The final moments of this chapter left a powerful question hanging in the air. Would Ileana truly claim her destiny, or would the shadows of the past rise up against her?